Harihi Om Tats, Harihi Om Tats, Jai Guru, Jai Guru. During the night satsang yesterday, Srimati Sarojini, I think she is a doctor, she was asking me, is the spiritual science one of auto-suggestion? I was a little amused. Very rarely people raise this kind of an inquiry. This morning I started thinking about it and I thought I would speak to you. Almost this subject, keeping it in my mind. See, we have so many mathematical formulae, even formulae regarding physics and chemistry. I think it is E is equal to mc squared. That is our Einstein's theory. Now, whenever this formula is given to you and you honor it, remember it, and try to work on its basis, a number of calculations and the others, is it an auto-suggestion or is it a fact? I think everything in spiritual science is completely factual. There is one point of similarity, absolute similarity, and one point of difference also between science and the spiritual subject. Any branch of science or discipline will become so only when it is based upon the two important tools of observation and inference. In fact, we human beings have only two levels or kinds of knowledge. One knowledge that comes to you through the senses. When the senses are employed, the eyes are open, you will find in the presence of light so many colorful objects around. From the colors we derive shapes. So the color and shape go together, and in revealing the color, understanding it and understanding the shape, our eyes alone are the medium and the final proof. In hearing a sound, ear is the final authority. Like that for the other senses. This sensory observation is the basis of all our experiences and knowledge. Unlike the animals, we can correlate and collate these sensory experiences and arrive at conclusions. In arriving at conclusions, the senses do not work. It is actually the intelligence and the mind which go on working. So we have two words called pratyaksha and paroksha. Prati aksha, aksha refers to the eyes. Prati aksha means anything that is placed in front of the eyes. It applies to all the senses. After getting the pratyaksha knowledge, the inferential knowledge begins its work. So in the pratyaksha knowledge, senses are employed and they alone are employed. In the paroksha, above the senses, the intelligence and the mind alone are employed. So far as human beings are concerned, as important and indispensable is pratyaksha knowledge, so important and indispensable is the paroksha knowledge. All our judgments are based upon paroksha. Now spirituality is one where we go beyond the pratyaksha and paroksha and go to a level called aparoksha. In the pratyaksha, the senses are employed. In the paroksha, the mind and intelligence alone are employed. And in aparoksha, it is even transcending senses, mind and intelligence. I don't know how to describe it. You can say it is direct apprehension or comprehension. The point of similarity between science and spirituality is that the tools employed by science are senses and mind intelligence. The same are the tools employed by spirituality also. So if science is acceptable, spirituality should also become acceptable and authentic. But in spirituality, the inferential process works in such a manner that it obliges you to think of a reality beyond the intelligence and the mind. That is its beauty. While the science uses external gadgets, laboratories, microscope and telescope, spirituality has only the laboratory of the human personality in toto. The spiritual thinker or observer remains in his hermitage or the ashram, and he starts looking at the world, including the stars, the endless skies. Then he thinks further, I am looking at and seeing. I am looking at and seeing. When I look at the sun obviously does not and cannot look at me. So sitting on the earth, I am looking at the sun, which is infinitely distant. I don't go to the sun and the sun does not come to me. Nevertheless, I see the sun very clearly. And my perception guides my life and activities. Where is this perception taking place? Outside my body or inside my body? Obviously inside. This perception, does it belong to the object I perceive? No. Perception follows perceiving process. Perceiving process is an expression of the perceiver. The perceiver is not an object, it is the subject. So the spiritual thinker remains in his hermitage and starts thinking about and arriving at a very bold and irreplaceable conclusion, irrefutable conclusion. What is that? All my experiences do not belong to the objects, though they are relating to the objects. Experience belongs to the experiencer. I am the experiencer. I begin to experience and I gain an experience. So the whole process of experiencing and experienced, the whole process rests upon me. I am the supreme. The world is the next and the second. I am the world perceiver. And then he starts going into the perceiver's magnitude and independence. No object can remain except with reference to the subject. But the subject can still remain without reference to the object. For instance, only when I am there, my world is around me. But when I go to sleep, from wakefulness, the world vanishes, mind vanishes, experiences go, I still survive to come back to wakefulness to say, I slept. Sleep is an intransitive verb. It implies no object. Who was this I who left everything and slept alone without any dependence on any second factor? So here is a clear instance where the subject perceiver alone survives and all the objects are completely extinct in our experience and perception. Don't ask the question, even if you don't experience, are not the objects there? No, the objects are there only for those who are wakeful. So it is the wakefulness in the human that gives an occasion for the world to be felt, to be experienced. My waking up and my sinking into sleep do not depend upon the objects or their permission at all. I wake up, I sleep, I dreamt, and I wake up. All the three states are mine. The world is an outcome of the wakefulness. In the same manner, the sleep is a state where the world becomes non-existent. The dream is an experience where I create myself without anybody's help, an altogether parallel new world, without taking any object from the world outside or without interfering with any. This is the secret. Now, is there any auto-suggestion here? The entire process is observation and inference. We go on thinking and understanding, thinking and understanding, thinking and understanding. So the actual communication in spiritual pursuit is the Guru speaking and revealing the truths to the disciple. And the disciple has to grasp it and rise and rise and rise along with the Guru. There is nothing here called auto-suggestion. When a student memorizes a mathematics formula, can it be called an auto-suggestion? Certainly not. It is a knowledge arrived at by earlier people. He need not undergo the trouble of repeating it. So he is given the benefit of an outcome which earlier people, his predecessors, had arrived at with experimentation. But mind you, in the science, experiment is possible, objective experimentation. In spirituality, it is not possible. Spirituality deals with the mind and intelligence, which are the tools which science employs to do all the experimentation and arrive at conclusions. So spirituality is an inquiry into the very mind, intelligence, ego and beyond. Obviously, no gadgets and no grossness can be there. It's actually a subtle process, nevertheless experiential. There are some drugs called empirical drugs. Empirical drugs, their effects are not scientifically, experimentally proved. No, they are experimentally also proved. If my information is correct, they don't understand how the drug is working on the body, but the drug works. They have administered the drug to the patients, and patients uniformly have a certain outcome or an effect. On the basis of that, they are called empirical experiential drugs, but they are not like the scientifically experimented and researched into drugs. In the same manner, everything in spirituality is experiential and empirical. Just like mind and intelligence are the foundation for all science and experimentation, spirituality probes into the very mind and intelligence. Using what? The mind and intelligence alone, nothing else. So it's absolutely scientific, it's absolutely logical. Our Shastras say 3 canons are there for spirituality. One is Shruti, the spoken account of our predecessors, Shruti, the scriptures. The second is Yukti, hardcore reason, unassailable reason. And Anubhava, personal experience. When all the 3 commingle, then alone a spiritual experience is considered to be a reality and acceptable. Harihi Om Tats. Jai Guru.